Hey, hey, my feel good friend, and welcome to the Feel Good Social podcast. I keep trying like different kind of excited intros, and I don't know if they're working out or not, but I hope that you're enjoying them. I am your host, Kinsey. If you haven't connected with me or listened to the podcast before, I am so glad that you are here. And my longtime listeners, I'm so glad you are here as well. My friend, today I am actually going to be sharing a slightly different episode than usual for the Feel Good Social podcast. Usually our podcasts are, they can be story focused for sure, whether I'm sharing stories or my guests are sharing stories and all those different things. But I definitely try to implement like some sort of strategy or takeaways that you can use and implement in your marketing every week. But for today's episode, we are getting kind of personal, and I'm sharing the personal story of how Brett, my now fiance, and I got engaged over this past weekend because honestly, it is pretty hilarious. Like, it ended up being like the perfect engagement story for me because I'm such a goofball and a quirk, and I really appreciate quirkiness and goofballiness. And when things don't go perfectly, like, I love that. But he wanted it to be the picture perfect proposal, which it did not end up being. So that is actually the story that I'm going to be sharing in today's episode. It's just a really easy listen. If you want a social media takeaway, then let's see, what could the moral of this story be? I think it's probably to let go of perfection, because perfection is not just going to happen. Like, it's not possible, and maybe embracing and realizing that the quirks and the things that don't go as planned in your life, the things that are kind of funny or different actually make you more beautiful as a human. And that can be applied to showing up on social media. Like, we all want to show up with our prettiest, shiniest pictures and all these different things and feel on brand and look professional and all that different stuff. But at the same time, there's beauty in just showing up as your human self that isn't perfect, but is even more wonderful than some perfect robot type of human, right? And so that's, I think, what I want you to take away from this episode ultimately is to just release maybe the expectations that you are putting on yourself for things to be perfect, and to just show up in your life and online and for your brand even in a way that isn't perfect. And that's even better than showing up as perfect all the time, right? So that's the moral of the story. And if you don't want to hear this hilarious engagement story, then go head over to a different episode. Any of my other episodes, you're going to find some hot tips in there about social media. But today, I just wanted to get personal with you because you guys are like my friends. Like, you're my best friends. I feel like when I'm in your earbuds and speaking to you every week, like, you just feel like one of my best buddies, right? So I just wanted to share this with you. All right, let's go ahead and dive into Brett and Mai's hilarious, not so perfect yet amazing story of getting engaged. Hey, friend, and welcome to the Feel Good Social Podcast. I'm your host, Kinsey, and I'm here to help you market your business in a genuine way that works without wasting your precious time. On this show, we chat about social media strategy and mindset tips with a focus on, you guessed it, feeling good. So sit back, relax, and enjoy some genuine conversation for the good of your biz. Okay, my friend. So just a heads up, I'm going to be speaking to you as if you're sitting next to me and we're drinking like a cocktail together or something like that, because that's just how this story has to be told, right? So I hope that you find some of the things that happen to be very relatable. That's what I've heard from most of my friends that I've shared. And it's just too good of a story not to share, okay? So long story short, Brett has been my boyfriend for 6 years now-ish. We met actually, this is really funny. We actually met on Tinder, you guys. We were like single, but then like we both swiped right or whatever. I don't even remember what way you swipe anymore. We both liked each other, right? And then he sent me a message asking for my phone number and didn't text me until like months later. But we started dating. We moved in together pretty quickly. Fast forward 8 months, we decided to both quit our jobs and travel Asia together for 7 months. So that was interesting. It was super, super amazing. It was super fun, but there were like definitely growing pains. There were definitely getting comfortable with each other pains. There was definitely learning how to deal with each other's annoyances pains happening on that trip. That was the trip that was like probably the biggest growth experience for us, let's be honest. And it was so, so amazing. But it was also kind of difficult at times, and I'm so, so grateful that we did go through that, because I think that it, one, strengthened our relationship. Like if we can make it through an 8-month abroad travel experience together in a foreign land, then it was kind of like we got back home. We're like, okay, well, we can make it through most things probably, right? And so long story short, when it comes to marriage, I mean, we've been together for 6 years, and on and off we have talked about it. But Brett's one of those guys, he's kind of emotionally shielded, let's say. He doesn't necessarily like to have like the kind of like ooey gooey talks and things like that, right? And it's something that I have learned to grow with, and we've grown together over it. But, as the years crept on, I've been kind of like just wondering what was going to happen, right? Of course, I was wanting to get engaged. I was wanting to marry him, but it wasn't like a huge, huge deal to me. But more so, what was really bothering me was like the not knowing where he was at and how he was feeling and what he was thinking, right? And like wanting to know if I should anticipate a proposal. I sound like a crazy person right now. So in the past few years, our conversations around marriage have been more like me being like, hey, babe, like, what are you thinking about marriage, or whatever. And his reaction has mostly been, I don't really want to talk about it, babe. And to me, that has always been kind of like, okay, like, dude, does that mean you don't want to marry me? Like what is going on? So finally, a few months ago, I think I like locked him down not locked him down. That sounds bad. We were sitting on opposite sides of the kitchen counter. Okay. And I basically was just like, babe, like, can you just please tell me what you're thinking? Like, because when you respond, like, I don't want to talk about it when it comes to marriage, it makes me feel like you don't want to marry me. And so we finally talked about it, and he was like, of course I want to marry you. Like, I want it to be a surprise. I'm getting all the things prepped and I'm like trying to figure it out. Okay. And I just like really want it to be an awesome surprise. And so long story short, I knew that an engagement was probably coming at some point, but I didn't really have any indication of when he was thinking about it. And it really, really mattered to him that he surprised me with it, right? So fast forward to this past weekend. Last Friday was my birthday, and Brett's parents got us hockey tickets to go down to a game in Denver just for a Christmas present. But then we kind of like decided it was to celebrate my birthday and whatnot, right? And we booked a hotel and we were going to have the best time. Brett took off both days. And so we were like, okay, cool. We'll be lazy getting up in the morning. Then we'll leave around 1 and we'll probably get down there around 3 and have time to like do a little shopping, then go to a nice dinner, then go to the game that started at 7, right? So last Thursday we wake up, we leave around 1. And normally it's only a 2-hour trip to Denver for us where we're at. But the roads were really bad. It was snowy and it took us 6 hours to get down to Denver for what we thought was going to take 2 hours, right? And so we get down there and like start walking into the stadium for the hockey game at 6:55, and it was starting at 7, right? We didn't eat dinner or anything, and Brett's like hangry, and then we try to scan the tickets and like the tickets didn't scan that Brett's dad transferred us. So, oh my gosh, it ended up being fine, but like kind of flustered and all those things. And come to find out later, he was planning on proposing to me. Like I found this out later, right? But I didn't really know. But so we ended up getting into the game. We had a good time, but Brett just decided not to propose because it was just like, it wasn't what he wanted it to be, right? And he actually made that comment at one point. He's like, well, this isn't how it was supposed to go. which that started a little alarm bell in my obsessive, like OCD brain, right? Being like, oh, really? Like, this isn't how it's supposed to go. He had also made some comments like, well, I got you a birthday present, but like, it's not really a birthday present, or like he said some weird comment like that, right? And also his dad was acting like a little bit weird when we dropped the dogs off at his dad's house to watch overnight and whatnot. And so I kind of started putting things together, and I kind of started in my like crazy little back of my brain, started thinking about it, right? And so I was like thinking about it all day the next day, which was my birthday. And then we went back up to Brett's dad's house to pick up our dogs that he was watching overnight. And we were just hanging out and whatnot. But when it came time to leave, I walked out the door first, and I heard Todd, Brett's dad, kind of hold him back and be like, I have to ask. And then he mumbled something, and I didn't hear what he mumbled, but then Brett goes, no, it just wasn't right, And I was like, ding, 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 once again, like little bells going off my brain. And so, okay, at that point, I was like, oh, do I let this go? I cannot, So we get home, we're hanging out on the couch, and I was like, babe, I'm sorry. I'm like feeling kind of anxiety. I know that I'm just like badgering you when it comes to getting married and getting engaged. Like, I don't want to do that to you. I don't want to like pressure you. I want you to do it when you're ready. Trying to like have a conversation with him. And he kept being like, can we just not talk about it? Can we just not talk about it? Which in hindsight, I mean, and like non-crazy Kinsey sight, I can understand I probably should have just dropped it. But like, sometimes anxiety things, like we can't help ourselves. Like we want to understand what's going on, right? So it kind of turned into this roundabout conversation where I was like, babe, I get it. Like, I'm going to stop talking about it. But like, when you react like that, it like stresses me out. You know what I mean? Like it makes me feel like you don't want to or what. And he was just like, will you just drop it and stuff like that. We went back and forth for like 20 minutes. And then at one point, Brett is just like sitting on the couch, like staring out the window, like kind of a bored, like already expression on his face. And I was like, babe, I'm so sorry. Like, can you just tell me what's going through your brain right now? Like, are you mad at me right now? And he was like, no. He's like, I'm just trying to decide if you badgering me into proposing to you right now is a good enough story. And I was kind of like, what? And he was like, I think it is. And he gets up with purpose and he walks into our bedroom and he picked up his jeans that he was wearing earlier that day before he put on his pajama pants. And he starts walking back out with the jeans he was wearing earlier that day. And I was like, no, babe. Of course, crazy kids just badgering for a proposal. And then like, no, don't do it as soon as he's about to do it. Right. And I was like, no, just wait. I can hold off. It kind of like made me feel a little bit better just to know where he was at. This is like total crazy woman talk right now. But, I was like, no, don't propose. It's fine. Like, just do it whenever you're ready. It's okay. Right. So then he goes, okay, and sets the jeans down on the chair in our living room and then goes and sits on the couch and plays computer or video games. And I was like, okay, you just gonna leave those there? Like, yeah, we're just leaving the jeans there. That's fine, even though you kind of indicated that there's something happening in there. And now I just have to ignore these jeans and we just have to hang out all night and play video games and whatever. And so I ended up letting it go. It was fine. But then the next morning he got up and he had to work this weekend because he took off those days off. So the next morning he wakes up, he gets ready for work, he leaves for work, and I come out and I try to sit on the couch and do some work. And I'm like sitting on the couch with my computer and I look over, the jeans are still there. And I'm like, oh, okay, just ignore it, Kins. Just ignore it. It's fine. Like it's probably in those pockets, but it's fine. Leave it. Like now that's what you want to, is just to know, have the information. You don't like need extra than that, right? And then I decided it was a good idea to go just feel the pockets for like a ring box or something. See if there was anything in those pockets, right? So I just went up and I picked up the jeans and I started feeling the outside of the box just to see if there's like a box in there. And there wasn't a box in there. So I figured he must have like taken it out when I was like getting ready for bed the night before or something like that and just left the jeans there or whatever. I didn't know, but I was like, oh, okay. So the ring's not there anymore. Brett came home and we just like spent the rest of the night, I don't know, hanging out, watching TV, whatever. So then the next day, on Sunday, Brett had to work again. And so one of my friends called that morning after he had left for work. And so, of course, I was like relaying the whole story to her again and being like, I think he was going to propose. But then like I kept talking about, but then like the night was ruined. But then the next day, this is what happened. Just, gossiping like girls do. And I'm like literally pacing because I have to pace when I talk on the phone, talking to her. And I'm like literally telling her the part where, and then I got to and I felt the jeans pocket and they weren't there. And it wasn't there. The box wasn't there. And literally as I'm joking that, I'm looking at the chair and underneath the chair in the living room, there's a ring on the ground. And I swear to God, my brain told me that was like one of my rings that I had worn to the hockey game and then taken off and sat on our coffee table that's right next to that chair. Like, so I just was like casually going and like picked it up and it was not one of my rings. It was the engagement ring. And I was like, Mel, I just freaking found the ring on the ground underneath this chair. I found it. I was like, and she's like screaming in my ear, like, oh my gosh, are you serious? I was like, yeah, like, what do I do? I was like, should I try it on? She's like, yes, try it on. So I tried it on, it fit. And I was like looking at it, she's like, send me photos. I took some photos of the ring and all those different things. And I was like, what the heck do I do? And she's like, okay, this was Mel's advice. She said, put the ring back on the ground under the chair and then don't tell him. Don't tell him. Let him find it and don't tell him that you found it. She's like, wait like a year to tell him. And I kind of like chuckled at her. I was like, that's not going to happen, Mel. I have a terrible poker face. So then she's like, okay, well, I vote for put the ring back under the chair and just don't tell him, but like you should probably call your mom and get her advice, right? So I called my mom and got her advice, got her in on it and stuff, sent her photos of the engagement ring. And then I messaged my business coach and my mindset coach to get their advice as well. So at this point, there are 4 people in on this. And everyone was like, put it back under the chair, right? So I put it back under the chair and I was just going to do the laundry and see how things played out. And so then I am trying to get work done and I'm like staring at this engagement ring under the freaking chair in our living room that's staring at me like the whole time. I can't focus. So I'm like, get up, try to start cleaning. I decided I was going to make some nice dinner for him to like hopefully make up for accidentally finding the ring. And I was like staring at the ring and I put it back on because I couldn't not. Like he wasn't supposed to be home for like 4 hours and whatnot, right? Like it was like noon at this point. And so I was like, I'm just going to try this ring back on and see how it feels. And so I put the ring back on and I'm just like twiddling around the house, like folding laundry, doing the dishes, like cleaning, all those different things. And all of a sudden he walks in and I'm wearing the engagement ring. And so I like quickly like kind of clasp my hand and like walk into the bathroom and take the ring off. And I'm like, oh my God, what should I do now? And of course, he's like not leaving the living room and not allowing me to like sneak the ring back under the chair or anything like that, right? And so I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do some work. And I like sat on the chair and I like played on the computer or whatever, and I just snuck the ring back under the chair or whatever. It was fine because he started playing video games again and was not paying attention. But long story short, I have 0 poker face, my friend. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I cannot keep a secret to save my life. I can't even like keep his Christmas present secret from him, right? So I just keep like kind of staring at him and giving him glances and stuff like that. And he keeps looking at me like, what's going on? And I was like, nothing. And finally he got like so like eye rolly annoyed. He was like, Kins, what did you do? I was like, nothing. He's like, what did you find? I was like, I found the ring. And I like whipped it out from under the chair. And he was like, it was under the chair. He's like, I thought you were washing it because the washer was going at that point. He's like, I thought it was in the dryer. And I was like, no, I found it. I'm so sorry, babe. Like, I know you wanted it to be a surprise and I know you wanted to ask and stuff, but I swear I did not like go looking for it. Like, I swear it fell out of the pocket and I didn't see it fall out of the pocket when I was feeling the pocket. But like still, it was still very serendipitous, but still Snoopy, a little bit of me, right? And so that's what happened, my friend. Basically, he actually, so the ring he gave me, I'll try to actually, if you guys want to see a picture, then definitely head to Feel Good Social on Instagram because I've shared a few photos there. And it's a really pretty ring. It's his great grandma's antique ring, which is super cool. And I really do love it. But he also actually, I think it's important to him. He wanted to have me like make my own ring and have my own special ring design and stuff. So I don't know. I think that he's going to end up getting me a different ring actually, which is kind of silly, but I think it's important to him. And also that's going to allow him to actually surprise me and ask me to marry him because he actually kind of refused to ask the question, stubborn Brett as he is. He was like, well, I am going to wait to ask you the question until I can surprise you and it's on my terms. He's like, but I think you just better wear that ring right now to pay for your snooping and sins. And he's like, it is official, but I'm going to ask you the question later. So he actually hasn't even completely asked me to marry him, but it is pretty official and kind of a funny story. So I wanted to share that story with you today just because I've been sharing it with a few other entrepreneurs and amazing women, and everyone kind of gets a kick out of it. And I want to celebrate with you guys because you are my best friends. My listeners are my best friends. And so thank you so much for letting me share this story with you. Hopefully you aren't judging me too bad for being Snoopy and all those different things. But I really do think that like, I love these types of stories. I love the stories that like aren't the perfect fairy tale stories. They're the relatable things that don't go as planned that makes life like cool and interesting and fun, right? And so I think it was super fun. It was like my perfect engagement story, even if it didn't live up to Brett's fairy tale dreams, but he'll get that eventually. I know him. He'll make it happen at some point. So so that is what happened. So Brett's officially my fiance. Kind of weird. I am going to try to bring him on the podcast at some point. I put a poll up on Instagram like months ago asking people if they wanted to hear from Brett on the podcast. And you guys were like, yeah, of course we want to. But he is kind of slightly antisocial, slightly nervous. Sometimes I don't know when the day is I will actually get him on the show. But if that's something that you would like to hear, let me know. I'll try to push for it more so. If there's certain things that you want to hear us talk about, let me know that too, because that's another reason he doesn't want to come on the show. He's like, I don't know what we'd talk about, right? So let me know all these things. But I hope that you enjoyed my engagement story, my quirky engagement story to Brett. And I would love to hear from you, my friend. Like, I really want to get to know you better. And I really want us to develop this like two-way relationship and stuff. So please connect with me on Instagram at Feel Good Social. Give me a follow. Send me a DM to let me know who you are. Send me a message and just say, hey, I'm a podcast listener, or whatever, like whatever you want to do. But just make sure that you do connect with me, message me so that I can give you a follow back, because I don't always like see people who follow me. I don't always give every single person a follow back or anything like that, but I want to give you a follow back if you decide to come connect with me over on Feel Good Social, so I can see your posts, so I can comment on them, so I can support you on Instagram as well as through your earbuds. So definitely connect with me on Instagram and share a funny story that happened, or share like if you found this relatable at all. I hope you did. And I hope that you have a great rest of your week. I will catch you next time I catch you. Thanks so much for listening, my friend. For show notes and a whole lot of other awesome freebies, visit feelgoodsocial.com. Simply go to feelgoodsocial.com for all the goods.